I want to spend time today talking about the Lake Keowee map. If you were in my office and sitting down in front of me today, I would be up here kind of doing the same thing that I'm doing for you as you're watching this video wherever you are today. And I use the map to kind of talk about how the lake was developed, you know, the east side of the lake versus the west side of the lake, the north versus the south. So it really gives you a good feel and education, which I'm all about trying to educate my buyer about the lake itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step out of the frame and I'm just going to start talking about and pointing to some different things about the lake and the development of the lake and how it was built. So let's go ahead and get started now. Let me go ahead and zoom in and we're going to go ahead and start talking about the lake in general, okay? Let me stop it about right here. All right, good. All right, let's go ahead and get started talking about the lake in general. First of all, the lake itself runs basically north to south. It's a north-south lake. It's about 26 miles from where it begins at the Jocassee Dam and runs 26 miles basically all the way into Seneca, South Carolina. So you can get in a boat on the north part of the lake, and about, you know, if you went 26 miles an hour, it would take you about 1 hour to drive your boat basically all the way to the southern part of the lake. Now the lake has 380 miles of shoreline. So it's not a small lake, but it's not a huge lake. But when you think about the shoreline itself, 380 miles of shoreline basically was stretched from here all the way into the state of Florida. And we have 18,500 acres of surface water here at Lake Keowee. All right, let's just back up for a minute. Let's jump back about 40 years, 45 years, and let's talk about how the lake was developed, because this is something that I think a buyer, you know, also needs to know. If you look at everything in blue, back before 1970-71, everything in blue did not exist on this map. This was all just what they call the Keowee Valley. And what happened is we had a major river flowing out of the Jocassee Valley, running all the way down this little part of the Keowee Valley, going all the way down into what is now present-day Lake Hartwell and goes all the way down to Savannah, Georgia. So what they did is they took the Keowee River, they meaning Duke Power, which is now Duke Energy Corporation, the nation's largest utility provider. So when they started buying all this land in the 50s and 60s, they took the Keowee River and they built the Keowee Dam, which basically flooded this whole part of the lake. And then they took the Little River, which is another river here, built another earthen embankment dam here and flooded this part of the lake. So you took two major rivers and you impounded and you flooded this whole area to create what is now today known as Lake Keowee. Now, the Keowee River, as it runs north to south, actually divides the lake into two counties. The east side of the lake is Pickens County. The west side of the lake, all through here from north to south, is called Oconee County. So we have two different counties that the lake is in. You know, not really a big difference in anything. Taxes are just a little bit different, but you know, nothing major there. All right, let's talk about location, drive time. Everybody wants to know, tell me about your city. Tell me about drive time to shopping and things like that. All right, our city that we have is basically the southern end of the lake. It's called Seneca, South Carolina. So the hub is what I call it. The hub of the lake itself is going to be Seneca. So let's talk about drive time into Seneca. If you take basically the mid part of the lake, which is right here, your drive time from any property all the way into here, into Seneca, where they have Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, you know, shopping, grocery stores, you're no more than 15 minutes into town. Obviously, if you're right here, you're basically 2 minutes to town. But in through here where Keowee Key is, you're 15 minutes or less all the way into town. Now, as you move north on the lake, let's take for an example up around Keowee Bay where I live full-time, which is on the kind of the northern part of the lake. It takes me about 28 to 30 minutes to drive into town for, you know, major shopping here, which is Seneca, and to my office. But for grocery shopping, there's grocery stores right here in West Union, which is only about 17 minutes away. So for shopping, grocery shopping, I really can drive right here into West Union for grocery shopping, but the more nice dining, things like that are going to be located right here in Seneca. So, you know, a lot of times I try to get people to think, how close do you want to be to the shopping? How important are, you know, those amenities for shopping, groceries, hospital, major hospital right here in Seneca? You know, if you're saying, hey, I want to be 15, 20 minutes or less, chances are we're going to be focusing on properties right through here. You might say, Michael, look, you know, I live out in the country now. I'm 45 minutes from the nearest grocery store, hospital. You know, I really like the more kind of being remote type feel, even though it's not really remote, it's just further away. You know, a northern Keowee property somewhere in this area might be more of what you would be looking for. It all depends on what your goals and objectives are for Lake Keowee. So drive time, like I said, simply 15 minutes or so. Up here still 15 minutes. And even if you're on the eastern side of the lake, take for an example like the Highlands, Crescent community here on the east side of the lake, you can drive into Pickens 15, 20 minutes away to go shopping there, or simply come into Seneca. You know, let's go ahead now and spend some time talking about the actual cities and towns that are located near the lake, because this is very important. This is what, in my opinion, makes Lake Keowee very dynamic also. Like I said, you got the Seneca, the big town here with all the box stores here. You got a little smaller town here called Clemson, South Carolina, which from my office here in Seneca into Clemson only takes you about 8 minutes to get there. Now due east from the mid part of the lake, or anywhere right in through here, due east is going to be a great, wonderful city called Greenville, South Carolina. Phenomenal, phenomenal city. So that's 45 minutes away. A little bit east, northeast is Charlotte, North Carolina. You're 2.5 hours away to Charlotte. Almost due north is going to be Asheville, North Carolina. You're less than 90 minutes to Asheville. Northwest are two little quaint mountain towns called Highlands and Cashiers, North Carolina. Those are really seasonal towns. They kind of open up about April. They kind of close back down around November. Quaint shopping, window shopping, restaurants, you know, elevations of 3,000 to 4,000 feet right up against the Blue Ridge Mountains. And as we come back around this way, we have Atlanta, southeast of us, about 2 hours away. And then down along the coast, you can be in downtown Charleston from Lake Keowee in about 3.5 hours. So, you know, you've got just, you know, just all kind of stuff that you can go and do around this area. That's not even to mention this phenomenal lake that we have right here, which is Lake Jocassee. You know, this is 18,500 acres. Lake Jocassee is 7,800 acres. Very private, very small, very expensive to be here. But the neat thing about this lake is about 70,000 acres of land around the lake is now protected and owned by the state of South Carolina and will never be built on. So not only do you have this phenomenal lake here, but you have another phenomenal lake here. There's only about 45 home sites on that whole lake, but that really helps to protect the water source, you know, coming into Lake Keowee. And I'm going to be doing another video here next talking about water clarity and, you know, about where we get our water and why that's so important to, why Lake Jocassee is so important to Lake Keowee. But I do want to spend just a couple minutes talking about one more aspect of the lake itself. Like I said, Duke Energy bought the lake to create power, electricity for this part of the upstate and other upstate areas of North and South Carolina. And so, like I said, when they dam the lake, they make power by a couple of different ways. Number one is hydropower. They actually take water from Jocassee, dump it down turbines into Lake Keowee. And actually what happens on a relatively warm day, if it's 85 to 90 degrees here at the lake, you'll actually see this lake rise about 1 foot to 1.5 foot because they're actually dumping water and moving a lot of water from Jocassee to Keowee to make hydro, to make electricity from hydro production. So at nighttime when you go to bed and the lights cut off and a lot of your air conditioners cut back down or cut off during the nighttime, they take the water from Keowee, they reverse the turbines and they send it right back to Lake Jocassee. So that's called pump storage. So also on the lake, we have a hydro and nuclear facility here at the dam, at the Keowee Dam. So they can also make power right here. And obviously they use the water from the lake to cool the reactors here at the nuclear station. And really, when you're on the lake, there's only about 2 spots, a couple right over here near Keowee Key, a couple right over here near Pine Ridge Point, and a couple right here on the east side where other than being in those 2 or 3 locations on the lake, you would not even know there was a nuclear facility here because you can't see them. So it's really great how Duke did that. So, you know, this lake is used for hydro and nuclear production. And back, you know, like I said, the water source is to keep the reactors cool. You know, when we're in a severe, 3 drought here, severe, stage 2, stage 3 drought here, this lake might be down, Keowee might be down 4.5 feet. Jocassee probably be down anywhere from 20 to 25 feet. So we use this lake, Jocassee, as a reservoir to help keep the lake here with good water level for year-round use. Now, they're talking about making some changes to the water level in 2016, and obviously I'll keep you updated with any type changes like that. Now let's go ahead and talk about a couple other fundamental things about the lake, which I think is really great. Another thing is, when they built the lake, when Duke Energy built the lake, everything you see here in blue, the lake was completely cleaned out. We don't have any kind of stumps. We don't have any kind of trees in our lake. So at that time, in the mid-1960s, it was one of the largest land clearing projects in the United States at that time, was moving all this timber completely out of the valley. So that's really, really unique. And you know, our watercolor, like I said, I'm going to do another video on our water quality. We have this nice aquamarine color water here at Lake Keowee. It's just absolutely stunning. Let's talk a little bit about the north end of the lake too, and the south end of some topography changes. Like I said, a lot of this property on the north end of the lake is owned by the Cliffs and the Reserve. And if you were to get, on a boat and leave Seneca and start driving north, a lot of this area here has a little bit less rolling topography than it does once you kind of get to the mid part of the lake, come under the bridge, and turn and move north, headed up the lake. A lot of this becomes a little bit more inclined, a little bit more ridge line. You can see more ridge lines when you're on the lake versus down here on the southern part of the lake. So kind of the topography of the lake kind of changes in this whole area. But still, I mean, I'm not talking, I mean, there's some lots like at East Shores that is steep as some of the lots on the north end of the lake. So, there's just different aspects to the lake, but, the lake is just phenomenal, beautiful, like I said, with that water. And Duke Energy just did, in my opinion, as a real estate broker here on the lake, just did a phenomenal job of creating and maintaining this lake for the past almost 50 years. So it's just a phenomenal property. One other thing that I wanted to mention to you also, if you notice, I don't know if you can read it right here, but this says normal pool elevation is 800 feet. And what that is Lake Keowee was built at 800 feet above mean sea level. So a lot of people ask me a lot of times about the weather. How much snow do you get? Do you get ice? Those type things. A lot of my clients come from the Midwest, Northeast, where they're used to getting a lot of snow. Remember, we're only at 800 feet elevation. Really, the snow line, what I would call for snow, and is somewhere between about 1,600 to 2,000 feet in elevation. So we're way below what most people consider getting snow. So being a native of the area, we've had like 2 big snowstorms in the past 25 years in this whole area. So that's great that our elevation here at the lake is maintained here at 800 feet. So we don't have to worry about a lot of snow or ice, and we're truly a 4 seasons climate, truly a spring, summer, winter, and fall here at Lake Keowee. So this hopefully gave you some good education, 10 or 15 minutes worth. Obviously I have more, when I meet you in person and we talk about other things and other possibilities for you at Lake Keowee and ultimately where you'd want to wind up buying a piece of property. But this just kind of gives you a good idea and a good little education for you as you kind of move forward and think about is Lake Keowee a place that you would want to come and consider, okay? So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you visiting my website and watching the video. I've got tons of other videos there for you on the site. And if you got any questions, as always, feel free to call me. I'll be more than happy to return your call just as quickly as possible, or doing the same through email, okay? Thanks again.